With the All-Star break right around the corner, there is no better time to talk second half breakouts than right now on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ahne, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ahne. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you haven't already and you're watching on YouTube, you hit that little bell below and subscribe to the channel and gives notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, check us out on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience through text message alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute podcast. And if you're interested in giving us a chance on Subtext, guys, you can find the link to our Subtext wherever you're listening or watching, or if not, it's available on any of our social media platforms. And this episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And guys, we have a very fun episode for you today. We are going to talk about some second half breakouts. Matt has 5 names. I have 5 names. We might agree on some. We might disagree on some. You're going to have to stick around to find out. And Matt, why don't you start with one of your names?
All right, no doubt. We're going to talk about a little Gavin Williams action. Gavin Williams obviously was hurt at the beginning of the year with an elbow injury, and I was pretty sad. I had him ranked as a top 36 pitcher, honestly, and I was ready for the serious breakout this year. Unfortunately, injury met him, but it is what it is. He's back now. His first start against the Rockies was a little ugly, but honestly, everything else after the second start was a lot better. He's hitting his fastball at 97 miles an hour. You know, he's getting great extension on that. And honestly, if you look at last year's stats, you know, his fastball is up 2 miles per hour on at an average. Doesn't really give up, good average exit velocity. He has really good stuff. He causes the whiffs and causes the Ks. Like, the kid is really good. I think this second half, when he really settles in and kind of gets warmed up, makes some corrections during the All-Star break, I think is going to be something that's going to be a really special second half. Gavin Williams as a prospect really was special and kind of reminded me a lot of, I was going to say Justin Bieber, but Shane Bieber. Sorry, Justin, you don't need that, especially while you're out on the IL. He just had such a prospect pedigree grow on the buildup that I'm just such a big fan. He always had a massive K per 9 rate. He always just had a low ERA. That's phenomenal stuff. His arsenal is absolutely ridiculous. And I just think it's a formula for success. He has a 4-seam fastball. He has a cutter. He has a curveball, a changeup, a slider. Everything he throws is pretty much magical. I just really think everything's going to come together in the second half. So if you added them, you listened to us on our past, stash episodes, you're doing really well going into the second half after this All-Star break. And if he's still out there in leagues, which I'm sure he quasi is, because he's only 58% owned, you should go pause the podcast, add him, because quite honestly, Gavin Williams is going to be something special and a talent that we're not going to want to miss out. So Gavin Williams of the Cleveland Guardians needs to be added immediately.
Yeah, Matt, I'm so with you on Gavin Williams. Honestly, he was actually almost on yesterday's episode. I almost threw him on there. But I said, you know what? We've talked about him a lot. Might as well hold back. But you know what? You threw him on today's episode. So I think it was kind of meant to be that we talk about Gavin Williams again. I just said 58% owned. It's so wide. It's still very widely owned. I really think you need to go out there and add him right now. Matt, you hit all the talking points, so I'm not really going to add too much there. Great job on that one. Let's talk about arguably the number one prospect in all of baseball. Let's talk some Jackson Holliday. We talked about Junior Caminero on the last one. That's the other guy, in my opinion. Still down in the minors, that is arguably number one prospect. But Jackson Holliday of the Baltimore Orioles, there's a reason. If you're living under a rock and you don't know who he is, it's former All-Star Matt Holliday's son. And this kid is just really good at baseball. I don't think he got a fair shake in his first showing where he actually hit under 100 to start the year in the major leagues. Jackson Holiday is, doing very, very well in AAA. He was banged up for a little bit down there. He's, back down there, hitting homers and stealing bases right now on the year in the minors. The young Jackson Holiday, who is still 20 years old, by the way, has played 60 games. He has 65 runs, so that's over a run per game. It's 221 at bats. 20 doubles, 8 homers, 29 RBIs, 5 steals, 69 walks to 65 strikeouts, and a 271 batting average for Jackson Holiday. I think we see him get somewhat of a cup of coffee at the end of the year, maybe a little September call-up, late October for the young Jackson Holiday. But I think once he gets called up, it's a we're not looking back type of situation. If you remember, last year, 2 years ago, Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll came up at the end of the year, and they both looked really, really good. I think we're going to see something similar with Jackson Holiday, and I think he's going to be a must-add as soon as he gets called up. Big speed, a little bit of power, not crazy, depending on where he's hitting that Baltimore lineup, which is very good. He's going to give you good runs or RBIs, possibly a little bit of both. Semi-quasi 5-tool guy, and at 20 years old, I don't think there's much more we can ask from somebody at that age.
Yeah, if he does get the call, we pray he's going to be successful. Obviously, there's that point where we see a repeat again, and maybe he's just too young and immature to be in the bigs right now. Which, hey, I mean, I don't really foresee it. He is performing again in the minors, but you never know. I mean, the guy's 20 years old, and you look what happened to Jordan Walker. Got his full shot and then couldn't even cut it either. And he's another one that was a top end prospect last year. So there's two sides of this of the coin here, and honestly, I don't know which side I'm falling on. If he really gets red hot and starts tearing the cover off the ball in the minors, that's where I'll start being like, okay, this kid's getting the call, and then I'm going to be really excited for him to come up. If he's not, and nothing really changes, I'm not going to be as excited. But maybe next year brings a sophomore or more of like a first really true rookie year breakout. We'll see. But my next guy here, I'm actually really excited to talk about. It's Nolan Jones. We've been talking about him for weeks as a guy you should have stashed while he was on the IL or trade for, because we strongly believe in him. I know Dom's on the same page. He drafted him literally everywhere this year and stole him right from out from under me. But, Nolan Jones is somebody that, does create a lot of hard contact, hits half his balls in Coors Field, which he's, Colorado Rockies Park is phenomenal. So ball flies out of there like, I don't know how to even explain it. All my jokes are inappropriate, so I'm just not going to make them. And he really just does a really good job. This year, the stats don't look great outside the hard hit percentage, but I mean, it really hasn't been that many at bats since returning from the IL. I think it's been about 2 weeks. But one thing that does stick out to me is the hard hit percentage. He's hitting the ball 48% of the time with a really hard hit, with hitting the ball hard 48% of the time, which is fantastic. You go back, you look at last year's stats, and you're just like, wow, okay, there's a lot of red on his baseball savant page. If you saw on my glasses with the reflection, you saw that too when I switched it. He barreled the ball really, really consistently. He had a great average exit velocity at 90. His batting average last year was 250, a little bit more desirable there, but his xWOBA was a 362. His slug was a 499. He didn't really chase the ball. He walked a lot, had really great, plate discipline. And again, hitting in Coors Field is a real true magic and a cheat code. So he could be really valuable for fantasy baseball. So I think, honestly, trying to acquire him more. If you have him, hang on to him. Do not drop him. Be patient, and I think he'll take you to the promised land.
Yeah, man, strong take there, Nolan Jones. As you kind of mentioned at the top there, I'm a big Nolan Jones guy myself. Injuries really held him back. I think that's all it is. I think we see a good second half where he hits probably around 275, 280 the rest of the way. He has a little bit of speed. He's got some power. Could be, a semi, 5-tool guy. Once again, we talked about Jackson Holiday, who's, 75-tool guy. I think Nolan Jones offers a lot of the same things. But I, once again, don't really want to, repeat what you said. You hit a lot of the main talking points there. And guys, coming up next, we are going to talk about a little bit of Eloy Jimenez. We have a rookie who's fallen from Grayson Evan Carter, and then Blake Snell, who has actually looked good in his first return off the IL. And once again, we got those names and more coming up next.
You know what, that instant confidence boost you get from a new outfit that makes you look real good? That's what I get with Stitch Fix. My style is basic, right? I like polos, jeans, shorts, a t-shirt, right? I'm really plain. Stitch Fix sent me a shirt I'd never buy for myself, and I end up loving it, and I pretty much rock it all the time. Easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. I give my stylist my size, my style, my fit, my budget, all of my preferences, and I order a box that is sent to my house and no subscription required, and they send 5 just for me pieces, right? Outfit recommendations plus pro styling advice. I keep what I want, what works for me, and I send the rest back. My stylist is always sending me the just right pieces that fit. The fit is absolutely on point. And if you're like me, like you feel like okay, they got ESP or something because they're just pretty much just reading my mind of things I like and how I like to wear things. I don't know how they do it. They just get me. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Now is the best time to get started with stitchfix.com/MLB and get $100 off. That's $25 off your first 4 fixes for your limited time only. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $100 off. Stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids fixes. Here at Locked On Fantasy Baseball, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team. Whether it's offseason, the draft, spring training, or playoffs, it's year-round. And you know what else is year-round, unfortunately? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming for your unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let a licensed professional tax expert at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and A-plus rating at Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion, yes, with a B, in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have a complicated matter that requires tax planning, or finally hit that parlay that this season and you need help filing that correctly, yes, you do need to pay taxes on that. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon or see the link in the description below. Are you watching Fox Sports and ESPN on your TV all day? Have you had to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to give you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or free on the Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Diamond Club podcast, Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As the season unfolds, rely on our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, and injury actions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where your path to victory begins. And by signing up, you get a free 2 weeks. So might as well check it out. See what we got to offer. I promise you won't want to leave. So, Dom, hit us with this next one because pretty beat.
Of course, brother. I know how it goes, and great job, and definitely appreciate you there. Let's talk about this next guy, though. Like you said, let's talk about some Eloy Jimenez, right? Eloy's an interesting one if he can stay on the field. I think that's like the biggest caveat when you talk about a guy like Eloy, who has a little bit of that Alberto Mondesi in him. But the kid's still got all the talent in the world. Dealt with a bunch of injuries this year. He's actually still only 27% owned on Yahoo, so he's widely available. If you need another outfielder in those 5 outfielder leagues, he should definitely be universally owned. As you get in those shallower leagues, I can see kind of just throwing him on the watch list for now and waiting and seeing, especially on this, mediocre White Sox team. Mediocre is being generous, actually, to be honest with you. They're a really bad baseball team. But you know what? I heard the White Sox are going to be sellers. So there's definitely that opportunity where Eloy and Luis Robert and, the rest of them guys could be on the move, and we see Eloy go to a contender. And maybe that's what he needs at this point in his career. Maybe he needs a fresh start, a fresh outlook on things. Because we all know when, Eloy's healthy, he's on a full season scale, like 150 game pace. He's a 30 homer, career 271 batting average guy. But I think in a good season, he could hit 280 plus. Actually has his first 3 steals of his career on the season this year. So it actually shows us that he might be willing to run a little bit. I'm not banking on that though. So I'm really hoping Eloy gets traded fresh start, new team, could show off that power that, we know he has in the bat, and he has the good hit tool to go along with that. So once again, Eloy Jimenez, Chicago White Sox outfielder, is somebody that I believe can have a very, very strong second half because we know who he is, has a long track record, and definitely has the opportunity to go to a contender and get that new sense of life in him, which I desperately think he needs at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I love him. We all know how high I am on him. It's just, I think he's just straight up made of plexiglass. He needs to invest in a trainer, maybe call Patrick Mahomes and be like, yo, dude, who trains you? Because I need the same guy. Because you getting, pummeled by guys that are 500 pounds, daily. How do I just withstand, running or even just walking or just getting off the couch, like Eloy, like, man, call somebody to just like straighten you out and
What do you
stretch
call
you out.
Bryce? Well, Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper had the same problems early in his career, running into walls and just not knowing how to stay on the field. And he kind of figured it out a little bit.
I mean, Bryce just played super aggressive. Eloy just, eats a couple Butterfingers and then he's hurt. It's just one of those. He just needs to call Schwarber maybe and just be like, bro, how do you stay so big but yet, stay healthy? I don't know.
Exactly.
But enough poo-pooing on. The kid's great if he can manage to stay on the field. As long as he's healthy, I'm gonna have him on my team essentially. So Eloy is great when healthy. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Evan Carter. Evan Carter, not the singer. That's Aaron Carter. I have to do it to him. Sorry, bud. You've been a disappointment this year. But I mean, I think injury had a lot to do with it. And I think when he finally returns, which I think is going to be in August, I think we're going to see something special. I love Evan Carter. The kid in 2023, even though it was a short sample size, I can kind of buy into a lot of the stuff we saw in the underlining. His xWOBA was a 341. His average exit velocity was 89 miles per hour. He averaged hitting the ball hard 46% of the time. His launch angle was phenomenal. His chase was great because he has great plate discipline. He walks like a beast. And you know what? You even go and you look at, okay, Matt, his average exit velocity, it's not that great. It's only 89. 89 is all right. 89 is the same as Luis Robert. Okay, so that's the low end scale of an elite home run hitter. Guy hit 38 last year, right? There's no difference in Evan Carter's game at that point. And he has the max EV that kind of goes with it. Guys that get like lower EVs, like 101, 102, they're not known for power. They're not going to hit 25, 30 home runs. Whereas Carter hits about 108.7. That was his highest this year so far. And last year was 107.5. No, not the radio station. And he has amazing sprint speed. The kid could steal bases. Evan Carter has a whole laundry list of reasons why he should be successful in the bigs. I think it's just a matter of health that was kind of, hampering his performance this year. So if you can go out and acquire him, if he's out there, go out and add him and stash him on the IL. Evan Carter, I think, is going to bounce back and in a big way. So all the hype that I was surrounding me drafting him every mock draft we did this offseason, I think will come to fruition in the second half.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on Evan Carter. I think if anyone who watched any of our mock drafts this offseason knows that we were taking Evan Carter, as like a number 3 outfielder, utility guy. So we were really, really bullish on him. As you mentioned, has a little bit of power in his game. Not really, I think he's going to grow into more power. But, for now, I think he's like on a 150 game pace, like a 20 homer, 35 steal guy that can hit for a good batting average. And on the Texas Rangers team, that's, good for fantasy baseball, should have the runs and RBIs too. So Matt, I'm with you on Evan Carter, who's 51% owned, outfielder for those Texas Rangers. We got to make sure we have him stashed, going into that second half. And actually the latest news is on him. Evan Carter has begun swinging a bat. That comes from Bruce Bochy, Rangers manager. That came on last Thursday. He's going to face a live pitching soon. We don't really have an exact timetable here, but as Matt said, I would speculate we see him back sometime towards the beginning of August. Let's move on to somebody. Actually, you know what? Before we move on to Blake Snell, who actually had a really good start in his last one, the Pass Squatch, and what's going on with Corbin Carroll, guys? What are we doing with him? Those names and a couple of more, though, coming up next. And guys, this episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball is brought to you by Booking.com. Yeah, with summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities with hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball's rival city. And one thing I do like to throw out there is, even though, I got the Yankee gear on today, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. Camden Yards is beautiful. What a beautiful stadium, so we can even support our rival team stadiums and teams as well. And to do that, head on over to Booking.com. They have so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. And Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. With last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater near you. Their flash deals save you even more with an exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Their zone deals let you save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. Their all-in pricing feature, when you toggle this one, it shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. With their seat views, you get a panoramic view from the seat you'll be sitting in the app before you buy it. With their lowest price guarantee, Game Time will credit you 110% back of the difference. And then Game Time's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets and their lowest prices always guaranteed. And Matt, you know what? I kind of already teased it up front. I think I'm just going to keep it pushing, and let's talk some Blake Snell, right? Blake Snell's back, guys. If you didn't know, he's already back off the IL, and he looked good in his first one. I don't want to say great, but he looked good, and there were some encouraging signs in that start. The first one is that he didn't go out there and try and strike everybody out. That's something, that Blake Snell is notorious for from time to time. He just wants to go out there and rack up 10 Ks as quickly as he can. But in his return on July 9th against Toronto, Blake Snell went 5 innings, 3 strikeouts, no earned runs, and an 0.80 whip. So it just shows me that Blake Snell at this point, wants to be successful, is going to do what it takes, is going to work that pitch mix, figure out what's, going to work for him on any given night and just, capitalize on it. And we know that's what Blake Snell does in the second half, right? It's time for him to turn it on. And I think this is our last buy low window, right? While the ERA is still above 7 at almost 8 and the whip is a 1.7 on Blake Snell, who's, once again pitching for those San Francisco Giants these days. Great home ballpark for, the former 2-time Cy Young Award winner. This guy can go out there and have well over a K per 9 with honestly a mid-2s ERA and I'm not going to say good whip, because whip is the one thing that Snell does struggle in, so the whip might be a little bit higher than we'd like, but I think the strikeouts, the run suppression and, the potential wins are going to make up for it. So honestly, I'm trying to acquire Blake Snell in every league I can right now, because he's going to be a league winner down the stretch. He has the upside of a top 10 starting pitcher. I think, honestly, with the floor of a top 30 starting pitcher, I don't think there's a world where Blake Snell just goes out there and continues to have, an 8 ERA with such an inflated whip. He is a talented pitcher. How many other guys in the league have won the Cy Young twice? Not many, if, any at all.
Yeah, no. I mean, Blake Snell's a beast. That's just, you summed it up perfectly. I just wanted to say it out loud. He's a beast. I had him ranked top 12 this year for me. And obviously I saw what was about to happen to him. And I don't care what anybody says, a second half pitcher or not. I think he found something special last year. Even his first half was a sub 3, and he just got better in the second half. Blake Snell is an incredible talent, and I think there's going to be better times to come with him. Let's move on. Let's talk about Vinnie Pasquantino, a guy that was seriously underperforming to begin the year, but I think he was kind of really just trying to get his footing. He missed a whole year with his shoulder injury essentially, and had to figure his life out with that. And I think we're starting to turn a corner with him. You look at all the underlying stats with the kid, and I'm pretty like excited just to see. But like he's the last 2 weeks, 5 runs, 3 bombs, 11 ribs, batting 356. You look at his underlying stats of an xWOBA 350. His x batting average is 270. His slug is a 470. His average exit velocity is 91.4 miles an hour. Okay, he's hitting the ball 47%, 47.5% of the time. It's hard contact. He's not whiffing. He's not striking out. He has good plate discipline. Obviously, he ain't stealing you a base. He's probably one of the lowest percentiles I've seen, which is absolutely monstrous. But the kid is awesome. I am truly impressed with what he's been doing in the underlying stats, and I know there's better times to come. Dom dropped him in a league, and now he's facing him this week. I've drafted this kid everywhere. I love him. Like, I'm telling you, this kid has some serious breakout potential. Those Kansas City Royals are going to be dangerous with him and Bobby Witt leading the charge.
I still got a couple shares, Matt. There's still a couple. Actually, I have been on listener league too, so the listeners can attest to that. I still have at least one share of the past watch, and I believe Leah did drop him in. That's other circumstances had to make room for injuries and stuff like that. But that's here nor there. Matt, you broke him down really good. I just think next year, if the past watch somehow doesn't wind up having really good numbers by the end of the year, which I think there's a strong chance he does, I think he's going to be such a sneaky pick next year. I think he's going to go outside of the top 10 first baseman, and we're going to just be getting him at such a discount next year. It's going to be great. So if you can go out there and acquire him, let's check the ownership percentage again on the past watch. 82%. So he's out there in a couple of shallow leagues, but if you can go out there and snag him in a trade while the numbers are still where they are, under 250, only 11 homers, 60 RBIs do look good, but everything else for the past watch underlying looks really good. Go out there and acquire him, get him on your teams. Let's move on to former number one prospect Corbin Carroll, right? It's been a real interesting case here for Corbin Carroll, right? Down season so far on the year. Corbin Carroll threw 338 bats, 55 runs, 3 homers, 25 RBI, 16 steals, and a 210 batting average. It is not indicative of the talent of Corbin Carroll. Not everybody, is a perennial all-star right away. But the year that we saw from Corbin Carroll last year, you hardly ever see from anybody. It was a 25 homer, 50 steal season as a 22-year-old. I mean, what more can you ask? I even sold him for short 4 steals, 54 steals. He had 285. I'm not sure what's going on as far as is that shoulder bothering him? Maybe that's what it is. He's been playing a little bit better of late, still not blowing me away. Some of the underlying stuff looks good as far as the bat speed. He's not striking out a lot. He's not whiffing a lot. He's walking a decent amount. Not really known for the power, so I'm not shocked that the power stuff doesn't look good. But what's bothering me is the expecting batting average is really far down from where you would like to see it with a guy like Corbin Carroll. They're only expecting him to hit around 250-ish, and he's at 210. I really think that if we can go out there and get him now, you can pay 75 cents on the dollar. Even keeper leagues. I think if he really starts getting it going, keeper dynasty leagues, the price is not really going to be lower, on Corbin Carroll now than it is. He's 23 years old. I think it's worth at least taking the shot on a guy like this, former number one prospect with the pedigree and everything. There's better days ahead. He might not be a 25 homer guy. He might be an 18 homer guy with 50 plus steals and a really good batting average. And I think that's still going to play in today's day and age. Yeah,
I mean, Corbin Carroll though last year had an average exit velocity of 90 miles per hour. I think that somewhat puts him in an elite power aspect of it. Even this year, his max EV was 111. The year before was 113. So I think the power levels are there. Those are elite max EV numbers and elite average exit velocity as well. I think that it's all real. I just think that there is an injury brewing, and it has me worried. If I could, I'm not paying 75 cents on the dollar. I will give somebody a bag of Doritos, which that's hard to pass on. Hard to give up too, because I love meat Doritos, obviously cheddar cheese, not that freaking cool ranch stuff. Um, you know, but ultimately I think that Corbin Carroll is worth just an ad trying to acquire just for the stolen base potential, and hopefully the batting average returns at least. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. I think we got time for at least these last two guys since we've had so many ad breaks today. I'm going to roll out with Josh Lowe here. Josh Lowe is somebody that is just returning off the injury list himself. And I personally am pretty excited that he's back. Dom and I literally drafted him everywhere in our mock drafts going into the offseason. And of course, he got hurt. Now, the underlying stats in his short sample size look good. His average exit velocity is at 89.7. He's barreling a lot. Launch angle looks great. His slug is a 4.52. His, xWOB is a 3.27. It's about average, but his batting average is looking a little fugly. But I mean, I think it's time, he's gonna get a little take a little time to kind of adjust. On top of that, he came out like a bat out of hell and hit 5 home runs in a matter of like a week and a half. I think it's in there. I think it's just going to take a little time to get going. I think this second half, he takes a break, kind of comes back, and then is just elite again. And one of our favorite, people that play this next year, coming into the year, and I think is going to be our favorite going into next year. Josh Lowe is going to be fantastic, and those Tampa Bay Rays are going to be glad they got him.
Yeah, man, you took my thought there. Kind of the same on the pass watch with Josh Lowe is. I don't know if we're going to see, the all-star caliber Josh Lowe for the rest of this year, due to the injuries and all that stuff. And then, I hate Tampa's platooning him. They're not letting him play against lefties for the most part. So we're not seeing Josh Lowe every single day. So it in your weekly leagues, it's hard to, throw him out there. In your daily leagues, easier to roster him in those kinds of leagues. But at 67% owned on Josh Lowe, I think we need to get him a little bit more owned than that. At least ride the wave and give him the chance to see if he can get it rock and rolling again. Honestly, I'm giving him another 2-3 weeks. If he kind of stays where he is now with his mediocre play, I'm not going to be afraid to drop him, but it's at least worth the chance to see where it goes. Matt, I don't know if we're going to do a full breakdown on this next guy, but at least I'll throw my 2 cents in there. Kind of had extenuating circumstances. It's Bobby Miller, Los Angeles Dodgers starting pitcher. We did want to talk about him. He did unfortunately get sent down today. Some bad performances since he has come back off the IL. But the thing is, Bobby Miller, 5-pitch guy. There's just so many mouths to feed here in Los Angeles with those Dodgers. So I don't know what's going to be the end result with Bobby Miller. I just got to keep an eye on if he starts performing well down in the minors. I'll go out there and try and acquire him. But if not, might be another next year guy.
Yeah, I mean, last minute quick thoughts on him is I think that he has an arsenal that's absolutely dangerous. I think the injury, is part of the reason why he's being sent down. I think there's some adjustments they need to make that they don't want to fight through since they're in a win now position. So I think he will return and he will be fine. So if he does get dropped, I'm probably trying to stash him for at least a couple weeks to see if those things turn around. But Dom, if you got nothing left to add, I am going to get us out of here. And guys, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. Tell your mother, tell your father, scream it from the rooftops. Tell everybody about our show because we love doing it and we love our everydayers. We have the best fans out there and we want to create more fans like you. So please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, and share. Peace out, guys.
Yeah.